most respected Justice Dr. Anita Suman, learner, Additional Solicitor General, Senior Advocate. Just now, Mr. Ravimanat Sundaram told us he's energetic. He's really energetic. Because of this energy, we are sitting at his cushion, like Central Government Council, we are really enjoying with his energy. Very same way, as already told, her Lordship always been role model, not only role model, she is an activist. That too particularly, any rights, anywhere rights being curtailed, she is the first person to support our whatever the extreme. Therefore, she is a right and appropriate chief guest today, therefore. And it is not merely like, honoring our people already introduced, all our Pal Kanagaraj and our MBA secretary, MBA, many law officers. We don't have time to, express each and every one. I wholeheartedly welcome law officers from central government as well as advocate from various, holding a position, including state government and personnel from law department and at the end the press. It is my great pleasure and privilege to share some of the activity, that is whatever the title which is given to me, to say few words about ABVS. In Tamil Nadu, we have got a very good history to say within 12 years we are able to coordinate 4,000 advocates. That is the first success. We just formulated in the year 2012. At the time we were only 4. Now we have divided into 2 states, that is North and South. Initially, the North ABUS consists of 24 districts, which comes under Madras High Court jurisdiction, along with the Pondicherry. That means North Tamil Nadu having 25 districts, that including Pondicherry. Similar way, the South ABUS consists of 14 districts. They have got a very same operation there. Therefore, within the span of 10 years, we are able to reach all advocates' mind and we are able to achieve and inculcate nationalism among the advocates. That is the first success of our ABUS in Tamil Nadu. Whereas, very same story, when it goes to North, each and everybody, very normal things, even any meeting, the advocates usually gather 500, 600, 700. Such a great difficulty we initiated. We have been proved our record. That is one. It is not merely proved a record based on our activities. Whatever the activity that we are doing, not only for advocate alone, we are beyond that. For example, for instance, to say, Adhivakta Parishad is having branches across the world. We are operating in 26 countries. Whereas in Tamil Nadu, there are many activities in north side. We can easily compare what we have achieved. Now we can able to say that we are more than northern state. Such a level of commitment has increased among the advocate only because of committed Karyakartas who are sitting here. The motivation being given from our own, legal luminary like Additional Solicitor, Honorable Justice, and many other judges, including Supreme Court judges, ordinary magistrate court judges, all those, not only judges, there are organizations who are really interested to work with human rights. With regards to our organization activity, we say we work with only court premises. That is for welfare of the advocate. The other one is court staff who are attached with the court, and also partially support for the activities of welfare-based activity in terms of whatever legal benefits given to the advocate. We are one who is really coordinating between advocates and advocate family, court and court staff. Therefore, Our playground is only restricted with this area. We are not at all political organization. We are no way strictly connected with any political body. With regards to organization activities, I can proudly say, because of continuous legal study, based on a time-to-time requirement, right from COVID time, right, not only COVID time, in earlier time also there was a several study program, month-wise, even district-wise, even subject-wise, even for example, if there is any law enacted, we are one who formed a group to criticize, whatever enacted law. That is ultimately, we are not like supporting it directly to any initiative. Whatever initiative taken by any government, we are one who really meant for the people. Therefore, our enrichment has really gone to society. It is a proud moment to say, today we are we are celebrating here Human Rights Day. Very same time, I would like to say, there are 4 places today with a different district have gone to hills of tribal area. I wish to mention those area. In Coimbatore, there is a village called in Singapadai. Today there is a Nayakandra. Nayakandra nothing but the legal education. There are team of lawyers who used to go there in the tribal people to assess their need, not only legal support alone. There are many issues for the tribal areas, particularly land issue, marriage issue, and other sort of any legal support, and including whatever we are going to talk about, the title, what we are International Human Rights Day fixed, that is on everyday essential, including water, sanitation, right to live, everything. This kind of guidance being given by our own lawyer. Number 1, Coimbatore, the name of the place, Singapadi is a tribal area, Nilgiri is Kotagiri, Tirupur, Mottanam village, Krishnagiri, Irundukote, that is Tenkadi Kote. 4 activity today, similarly, whatever we are having, similar program, maybe this is a kind of table to bottom approach, this is bottom to table approach there. Therefore, our advocates not only committed with the court alone, we are gone to the extent of reaching community. Therefore, we have got some sort of satisfaction while working in this field. With this, we have got not only we are left alone the advocate and advocate welfare. We used to update the knowledge of advocate. We can proudly say that our advocate, that is our member, is only a practicing advocate. Not merely education in BL. No, we will not allow them into member. Those who are having practice, showing their record, then only they will be given an opportunity of the member. That is a kind of strictness in our administration we are adhere. Therefore, people are very much interested to join and expand the scope also. Apart from that, there is a training program for updation of law and also human mind, including yoga. There are many therapeutic activities, psychological development, those kind of activity being done every year. And with regards to operation, our national leader used to train us like, I can say, there's a proud Lord Vivekananda, like he says, fascinating. Yes, still I am fascinating because I am attached to the organization as a last person. The South. That kind of inspiration comes from my elders, whoever sitting at the top level, because they have given me guidance like, the coordinate people, which is currently practiced in system that is called organization, that's a department to work. Any single advocate cannot work on their own. There is a department called organization. When we identify a person, the department has to identify a new personnel of advocates and give them training and place them in a court. That is a kind of organization rolled out. The other one is litigation. There is a committee at Supreme Court level. When there is a issue, small issue at either a court level or any environmental issue at a village level or in any area, there is a team to sit with. It's a small group, highlight the issue, identify legal case histories, and they must have a system of discussing each and every point, recommending to the court. Either it goes to High Court or District Court or Supreme Court. There are line of lawyers without expecting single pie. We are there to help. In the instant I say, today I am standing before you because of this organization. Over the phone, I can file a wakalat at Kashmir. That is a kind of network. Therefore, we are just progressing. Many people used to say that Tamil Nadu you can't expand your scope. Now you have proved. This is how our operation is going. Like the advocates become a nationalist is our primary goal. At the same time, the advocate also major role in contributing our society. With that note, I just conclude. I've been going for a litigation and knowledge collective. There's other teams called knowledge collective. After identification issue, there is a small group sits that is called resource group, think tank group. They collect all knowledges to feed in the litigation team. And similarly, the outreach, whatever activity that we are doing, the outreach team will market. Whatever we are doing, the same chain of advocates promotion will be done by the outreach. These are the department which we are operating. And with regards to today's subject, I should not make an encumbrance about Her Lordship going to address the issue, despite the subject title. It is nothing new. It is everything there in the value. It is there, everything there in the cultural practice. Even rights of women, rights of men, even rights of elders. Nothing new. If you look at the olden days, our elders, what we practiced, that maybe the short term when British people came in, maybe some sort of changes were happened. When now we are trying to identify those rights being, for an example, I can say this is a right forum to say. Many people say that women contribution not there in the constitution promotion. When they are drafting constitution, there are 14 women, including Tamil Nadu. We are the one, we are able to identify those women, those they contributed for making a constitution. During similar program, we are able to display their photos. These are the women from South India who have contributed to making a constitution. That kind of, whatever contribution being not shown to anyone. Therefore, we are the organization, we are trying to respect value, culture, and particularly contribution of women. That too, whatever we are having in a group, even among our designation, it is not a matter of designation, it is a responsibility with the organization. We have got a reservation. There are 30% women being given in the organization also. That means in the IM system, one vice president should be women, one secretary should be women, even among the executive should be women. These are the system we are into, all level. Therefore, our new advocates, even reaching all, budding lawyers, like even the college student is going like anything, definitely miles to grow, Again, the rights, nothing but wherever rights, which is comes in front of me, which is subject me, then I am just raising voice to get the rights. Beyond that, nothing. Now we are trying to, recap olden days, how we are respected in the family. There are Chittappa, Periyappa, Patan, Paati, Amma, Appa, everybody was there. At the time, we used to get a consultation from each and every elders and taking blessing from them. This is nothing new. Nowadays, this is new terminology as a rights. Right to live. When a child is born, there are three rights. There are three rights basically. Right to live, protection, participation. This is came not because of UN declaration, something like that. When Tata is sitting at a home, he is a person who is taking care of more than a mother. The party is sitting there. The party took more than a care than the mother. Though mothers and fathers are partially, they are active people. Though they are very old age, but the values are even, you cannot calculate now. Those families are coming up very laudable manner. Therefore, maybe the terminology, that is each and every day what we are having, rights, our everyday essential. Essential is nothing but wherever rights are, taken out by any form, we are there to support them. Not only for this, even for legal support. For the rural area where we are going for, in the name of Nayakendra, we are the people doing free of cost. It is not because of human rights. These 4 villages being, trained, there are volunteers from rural area, that is among the tribal community. they are now acting as a peer person in this respective area. Because they are getting love. Whenever we people going there, existing people are like very there, the fearing about these people may be attached with the political parties. That means all political party have to be very careful with our people, because our people really, capable of doing anything in terms of legal aspect. With this note, I conclude my remarks. I should not go beyond that. The rights and privileges, UN declaration, whatever existing law and the constitution, everything, our lordship going to address. It is there in our constitution system also. There is a directive principle state policy. There is a fundamental right from 12 to 35, 35 to 56. I hope everything is there in our constitution. Again, the implementation is a question of law. The practice is a question of law. Definitely, with our able advocates, we can try to reach much more in a rural area where the people are suffering for basic drinking water, basic education facility. There are schemes available, but who is going to link? That is also political mileage is there when we are going there. With the great difficulty, there is no road. Therefore, we are going as a lawyer with uniform. People are watching us. Why these people are going there? We have a commitment with uniform going there. All people are watching us. This is our real development. This kind of initiative being done by us, it is a very long to go. Definitely, with all your support, we will grow further. With this, I conclude my remarks. Thank you very much.
பாஷா மூவி ஒருத்தருக்கு நாடி நரம்பு எல்லாத்திலையும் ஒன்று ஊறி இருந்தால் தான் இப்படி பேச முடியும். அது மாதிரி அகில பாரத வழக்கறிஞர் சங்கம் டாக் பேரர்னா அது he is the person who carries value wherever he goes, and he speaks about, smells about, breathe about Akhila Bharatiya Varakkarinyar Sangam. One of the wonderful words you have stated, and it will be well taken by our junior advocates and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, General Secretary, for a great insight on our organization. Now it's time that we hear from a towering personality in the legal fraternity and one of the most respected senior advocate, a son of eminent Justice A.R. Lakshmanan, former Judge of Supreme Court of India and Chairman of Law Commission of India. Mr. Sundaresan has built a distinguished career defined by integrity, versatility, and unwavering commitment to justice, carving a legacy entirely of his own. Just at the age of 39, in February 2006, he was designated a senior advocate, and he served as a president of Madras Bar Association between 2018 and 20. In 2022, Sri Sundaresan was appointed as Additional Solicitor General, an appointment that reflects the trust reposed in him at the highest level of government. His recent appearance in PVR Inox Chennai Airport Dispute Akanda to Injection, Passport Rule Review, TASMAC Enforcement Directive, in addition to the crucial role playing in the defending of ED Cements, brought him into the headlines. Beyond litigation, Sri A.R.L. Sundaresan is admired for his elegance in the dignified presence at public events, bar association functions, felicitation ceremonies. His speeches often highlight the sanctity of judiciary as a temple of justice, and continues to mentor young advocates in his example of standing tall in terms of discipline. It is our privilege to welcome our ASG to address the gathering.
அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். Honorable Dr. Justice Anita Suman, Judge High Court Madras, Dr. G. Babu, State General Secretary, Srimati Vijay Lata, President, Chennai District Unit of ABBS, other dignitaries on the dais, learned senior advocates, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to all. I thank you very much for the felicitation. I had come here, and it is my honor to be present here in this function relating to International Human Rights Day celebration and share the dais with Justice Anita Suman. more of the speech will be by Dr. Justice Anita Suman. I'll just touch one or two points. Human rights, the topic today is human rights, our everyday essentials. So far as everyday essentials is concerned, we can say air, water, soil, protection, home, food, health, sanitation, everything. All this will have to read into the constitution. The states will have to provide that. Everybody looks at what I am going to get for my protection. I would only say that as a citizen, while seeing that I am entitled to right to life, what duty you have under Article 51. Article 20, 21, 22 deals with personal liberty and protection of life and personal liberty. Article 20 is in respect of crimes, conviction, etc. 21 is protection of life and personal liberty. 22 is protection against arrest, detention, etc., subject to preventive detention. Now, if you go to the duties, if some follow the duty, the rights will automatically fall in place. So, if all of us start following the duty, then rights are ensured. Among the fundamental duties, 51A, G, to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. If this is done, then whatever we require for the daily essentials, air, water, soil, home, protection, food, everything will be there. Therefore, on the one hand, I have a right. On the other hand, we have a duty. If all of us perform our duty which is expected in the Constitution, then there won't be any taking away of our rights will be ensured. It will be easy for the states, the center and the local bodies to give it. Therefore, let us give and expect if that is done. Now coming to the other part, personal liberty, Article 22 has now marched so much. Earlier it was a person is entitled to know the grounds on which he is arrested and how you are curtailing his personal liberty. If you inform him, it is sufficient. If the police officer makes a note, I have informed him on so and so date and 2 witnesses attest it, that is sufficient. Supreme Court has subsequently, that is on D.K. Basu. After that, Supreme Court has now said that you have to inform him the grounds of arrest in writing. Now, 2 months subsequent to that, Supreme Court says, not only inform him in writing, inform him family members in writing. And recently, 1 month ago, Supreme Court has said, not only informing him about that, inform him 2 hours before you produce him for remand, so that the grounds of arrest is available in his hand, in the hands of his family members. They have at least 2 hours time to contact their lawyer, and before the remand, they will be prepared to go and oppose the remand. That is what is now read into Article 22. Therefore, this happens every day. And as lawyers, 2 things. You may either be a prosecutor or you may be a defense lawyer. If you are a defense lawyer, there are some points for you to protect the rights of the individual. At the same time, as a prosecutor, I say that there would be a duty for us to the society that is also protecting human rights. If a crime is not detected properly, if a crime is not investigated properly, a victim is suffering without the wrongdoer being convicted, that is violation of human rights of that individual victim. Therefore, as a prosecutor, you should not allow things to go bad because of procedural violations. Therefore, as an investigator or as a prosecutor, it's our duty to ensure that the police who is investigating the case observes everything which is required under the fundamental rights. Article 20 to 22 is complied with, and therefore, on one hand, you are ensuring the rights of the accused, on the other hand, you are ensuring the rights of the victim and ensuring that the society is protected from such offences. Therefore, balancing at both ends. One is prosecution, one is defense. The other one is fundamental rights, right to life. I want electricity, I want water, I want a house, I want education. One thing which I forgot is Article 51A K, who is a parent or guardian to provide opportunities for education to his child, or as the case may be what, between the age of 6 to 14 years. Now this is achieved by the Right to Education Act. Up to 14 years, free education. Parents are bound to give that education. If parents are not able to give that education, every school, 25% of the seats has to be reserved for people who are not able to afford, and that fee is being paid by the respective governments. 50% is being paid by the state government, 50% is being paid by the central government. These are all what is being done to ensure that the human rights are protected. There are so many declarations. As Dr. Babu said, it's all there in ancient history itself. And this weekend, there was a conference by the NGT, Southern Regional Bench. Justice R. Mahadevan was there. He spoke for about 10 minutes. First 7 minutes was in English. Next 3 minutes was in Tamil. It was so excellent that he said, all what you're telling now under the Air Act, Water Act, all this is there in Sangam literature. Thousands of years ago it is there. And we have to follow all that. And if you don't follow that, you are not fit to be a king. This is what has been written in Sangam literature. Therefore, everyday essentials is not new. It is not born out of the Constitution. Constitution recognizes what is already there and ensures that duties are there, rights are there. It's for us to perform our duty and claim our rights. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Excellent address, sir, on nature, our rights and duties, and personal liberty, etc. But today, the people are in helm of affairs and with powers who never allow others' rights and others' duties. And only Lord Muruga has to do the lighting for everyone. Thank you, sir. Now, main part, our chief guest going to address little about our justice. She is the first, or I don't know, from my knowledge, she is the first person who has been appointed permanent judge on the day of appointment. These are the special things. And she was in Federation of Tax Practitioners, and she emphasized that taking justice beyond the courtroom means ensuring accessibility, accountability, and affordability. And our justice stands as an inspiring example of scholarship, service, and dedicated in her whatever she does. It's a honor and knowledge her remarkable journey and contribution. Honorable Justice has settled many legal instruments in HRNC Act and RTE, right to education from kindergarten to 8th standard, irrespective of age for the children, and other educational thing. I remember one thing as a lawyer when I was in that tax court. When government side, they asked for some extension of time. She addressed the Lordship. My Lordship, you can extend time, but my client's interest is clock's ticking. And the way she sits now and she takes care of all citizens. That is also rights of citizens she takes and she does. Over to you, Lordship, for your address. And before that, I request Nityashri to take the honors from our honorable judges, a shawl. பாரதியார் கோஷம்.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for a very kind introduction, sir. Dr. Babu, Srimati Lata, Mr. Sudan, other office bearers and members of both the state and district units of the Akhil Bharatiya Vazhakkaringargal Sangam, Shri Sundaresan, most distinguished invitees, lawyers, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege and pleasure to be here. Namaskaram to all of you. We are gathered here today to celebrate International Human Rights Day, an annual feature ever since the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1940. Annually, year on year, we renew a pledge to ourselves to protect and further the cause of ensuring that we and those around us enjoy the dignity due to us as a matter of right. So the 10th of December of every year serves as a reckoner for, shall we say, international morality. Certainly it is a day of celebration, but for a room full of legal minds, it must also be a cause for introspection. International human rights laws stipulate the basic parameters of respect, protection, and fulfillment to all human beings. This essentially means that 1, states must avoid interference with individual human rights. 2, prevent abuse of those rights by others, thus protecting their citizens. And 3, take as many positive steps as possible to enable the enjoyment and fulfillment of those rights. When I asked Dr. Babu how long I am expected to address the audience, he said around 45 minutes. But I feared that that would be a violation of human rights by so I won't inflict that on you. I have something prepared to ensure that I don't overstep and at the same time I convey what I wanted to say. So my presentation will perhaps be for about 25 to 30 minutes. I hope you will bear with that. It is in 3 parts. First is a very brief overview. Second is developments both international and domestic in regard to human rights, a large chunk of which has been covered by Sri Sundaresan, so thus saving me the necessity of having to repeat all that. And the last section on Indian philosophy and thought in regard to human rights. First, my overview. Now the theme chosen by the UN is what is the theme for our speech today, which is human rights, our everyday essentials. It's quite a curious phrase, everyday essentials. When we talk of everyday essentials, we talk of the mundane, we talk of oxygen, we talk of water, we talk of gravity. All these are forces that we rarely bother about unless they are gone. By applying this word to human rights, we are being asked to shift our perspective. We are being asked to view qualities like liberty, equality, dignity, not as high-minded ideals reserved for constitutional benches, but as the very metabolic processes of a civilized society. Dr. Babu said in the hills, the focus of the program is the bottom to table, and here it is table to bottom. No. The purpose of it is to ensure that it is table to chair. Everything is aligned. There is no up to down and down to up. That's the very purpose of the day that we celebrate today. Now, very briefly on what is the international perspective. Internationally, if one were to pinpoint a specific point in human history when human rights stood crystallized, it would be 539 BC, when Cyrus the Great conquered Babylonia. Slavery was rampant till then, and Cyrus the Great freed the slaves, making a fantastic declaration that all people had the right to choose their own religion. He is thus said to be the first internationally to establish racial equality. Those declarations that he made were all recorded in a clay cylinder, which is called the Cyrus cylinder. And it is out of these that we have the first 4 articles of the United Declaration of Human Rights. These were inspired by the Cyrus cylinder. Many centuries later, we have the Magna Carta that was promulgated in 1215, which introduced the concepts of rule of law and a Charter of Rights and Liberties. The rights that inured over centuries of existence of human beings can be roughly divided generationally into 4 generations. Firstly, we have civil and human rights. Second, economic, social and cultural rights. Third, collective and rights of solidarity. And today, that is the present, we have rights in the digital era, such as artificial intelligence, data privacy and the like. But you will appreciate that none of these generations of rights can be appreciated in silos, and they have to collectively work, and there has to be a happy coexistence amongst all 4 to the extent possible at any given point of time. I will now touch on legal developments domestically. Like I said, I'm not going to touch on the articles of the Constitution and others because they've already been presented to you. I will start by saying that our courts have been extremely proactive, and one can say that we have ushered in a revolution of sorts as far as human rights is concerned. Article 21, that assures the right to life and liberty, has been taken to be extremely fertile ground, and it has been interpreted inclusively and liberally in favor of an expansive gamut of rights over the years. It has taken into account developments within the law and within society. Since the House today is comprised almost completely of advocates, I just wanted to chronicle a few developments on this front. First one would be public interest litigation, a brainchild of Justice Bhagavati and Justice Krishna Iyer. That is one of the brahmastras that we have to protect and nurture the human rights movement. 1979, a lawyer by name Kapila Hingorani read a newspaper article. That article was about 18 under-trial prisoners in Bihar who had been charged with various crimes but whose trials were stagnating. They had been languishing for jail for a period far longer than what the maximum punishment would have been had they been found to be guilty. In her own words, and I quote her, she was sickened. I was sickened, she says. And she approached the Supreme Court where Justice Bhagavati ordered the release of 17 under-trial prisoners who were a victim of the systemic oversight in Bihar. As a consequence and as a continuum, nearly 40,000 under-trial prisoners came to be released. Since then, we have had a flurry of telegrams, letters, even media reports that have kick-started litigation in public interest. I was sitting in Madurai recently, and there was one matter where Justice Kripakaran had taken up a suo motu petition in public interest on looking into the working of fireworks units in Sivakasi. So, you had been appointed as amicus. And also another learned counsel. So, we revitalized that matter. And the wheels of justice may be slow, but undoubtedly justice will be done. We've facilitated her visit to the factories in order to ensure that she goes, inspects them, etc. And PILs bring enormous satisfaction to the courts and to me personally because they touch directly upon aberrations in law that are faced by the common man day in and day out. True, we sometimes hear PILs being referred to as publicity interest litigations or politically interested litigations. That is there. But courts have their own way of dealing with those. And one thing that we try to be clear about, the horse of all this all the noise about the motivated PILs is that we must not allow even one single genuine case to be a casualty. Second instance would be deaths caused to workers by exposure to toxic gases in sewers. That was addressed by the Supreme Court, and it is on their intervention that we have the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act that was passed in 2013. Ragging, which sometimes has very serious consequences, has already been addressed by the states, by all states, by way of legislation, by the intervention of the courts. A transgender had been recognized as third gender, with gender identity, dignity, and freedom from discrimination, with the enactment of the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. Perhaps one of the most important measures that we have on this score are the Vishaka guidelines. Though they took 16 years for the guidelines to attain the status of law. It was only in 2013 that we have the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act that was passed. But you know, even today, we have matters coming up before us where internal complaints committees have not been constituted. So the percolation, making a law, is perhaps far easier than ensuring that it percolates down to the grassroots of society where it is needed the most. The Supreme Court is holding the matter of Aureliano Fernandez versus State of Goa as a continuing mandamus, and they have been issuing directives regularly. Many of these directives have been implemented by the state, and the Gujarat and the Madras High Courts, in that order, we implemented an annual program where we had conferences in all our districts. We had stakeholders from lawyers, from the staff, from state departments, from students attend the program. It was a one-day program. It was inaugurated by Justice Nagaratna last December. And on 28/11/2025, we completed the program in all 38 districts of Tamil Nadu, plus Pondicherry. So that was really, it was a revelation, because we don't want to say that it's a feather in our cap. It's more an indicator of how much more we have to do. Because the instances of harassment that the women reported to us were so glaring, sometimes the percolation is so slow that they don't realize that a particular act is harassment. So, well, it's a work in progress, and this is one instance where a very important measure has been done by way of intervention by the courts. Custodial deaths are a matter of serious concern, and judicial notice has been taken of torture and extortion of confession by officers in law enforcement. Just want to quote a recent judgment in Parambir Singh Saini versus Baljit Singh and others, which is also being held as a continuing mandamus, where the Supreme Court has issued a slew of directions, including the setting up of CCTV cameras. The one direction is for a district level oversight committee to be constituted, and the grievances in this regard are to be escalated before that committee, which is to monitor issues relating to police excess. And now my last section, where I have a couple of points on Indian philosophy and thought relating to human rights. You know the adage, truth always comes last. And I believe that it is this section that will capture the truth as far as we as a nation are concerned in relation to human rights. The first point that I wanted to make on this is, when we speak of human rights, should be restricted to the two-legged variety of people, should I say, of beings on this planet. Now the answer must be in the affirmative, because traditionally, as we understand it, human rights would relate solely to human beings. But our culture, Indian culture, prescribes an ethos that is equally fair to all forms of life. Therefore, one ground that is gaining ground, one school of thought that is gaining ground today, Mr. Sundaresan made mention of this in his talk also, is that human rights would operate shoulder to shoulder with human responsibilities as well. There cannot be a universal declaration of rights alone to the exclusion of corresponding responsibilities. We very often say Vasudeva Kudumbakam, which means that the entire earth is a family. So we can't exclude from this other life forms. Mr. Sundareshan also referred to the conference that was conducted by the NGT Southern Zone. And one of the experts there had a very, very telling statement when they were talking about life forms. Do you know which is the most invasive life form on the earth? It is the human being. Human beings are the most invasive life forms of the earth, and we will do anything we can to ensure our continuance, to ensure our prosperity, to the exclusion, to the detriment of all other life forms on the earth. We have to shake off that criticism, It's time that we shake off that criticism and we start living a more inclusive, simpler, organic and responsible life in the interests of the planet and all its inhabitants. This is a topic for a separate conference by itself, so I'll simply leave that thought there. But you do know that courts in India, several courts in India have started recognizing the fundamental rights of other natural life forms like rivers. And there was also one judgment earlier which had looked into whether canines would also be entitled to fundamental rights. So these are all thoughts that I would leave with you. I will only say that such declarations by the courts will and must increase in time. The second point that I wanted to make is more fundamental. As students of the law, we are often trained to look for the origins of the essentials of human rights outside. We look for it in the ink of 1948. We say that's the moment the world woke up to human rights. And the global position on human rights provides for a magnificent architecture, no doubt. It establishes for the post-war world weapons against the tyranny of the state, assuring the individual that he does possess an inviolable circle of protection. However, I would say that while the West may have given us the lex, that is the letter of human rights, our own culture and civilization has given us the jus, the spirit of human rights. And that is something that we cannot lose sight of because it is ingrained as part of our DNA. We don't refer to this as an entitlement, which implies that we make a claim against another based on adhikaram, based on the fact that we believe we are entitled to it. We call it dharma, we call it aram, and this implies that we have a duty towards one another. Hence, I would think that the Indian legal ethos already has a very deeply robust, everyday essentials foundation for human rights, which is based on fairness and equity. The cultural ethos of India is encapsulated in the phrase Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. And this is what resonates in our constitution. Word for word, it is reiterated article for article. The values of empathy, compassion, equity, and a fierce adherence to the rule of law is what our constitution dictates, and the most fundamental and essential of all is a right to equality. In global discourse on the right to equality, we defend equality on political grounds. We say we are all citizens and therefore we are all entitled to being treated equally. But Indian jurisprudential consciousness would, I think, dig a little deeper. I will explain. Traditionally, we anchor equality not in politics, but in metaphysics. What else is Tattvamasi? It means that thou art that. And there can be no greater proclamation of equality than that. You are all aware of the discussion that took place with the Adi Shankara. See, there is an incident where Adi Shankara was returning from, the great saint, was returning from a bath. And as he walked, there was a person of a different caste who came. And since he had just had his bath, he asked the individual to step aside. When he did that, the question that he was met with was, and I this is a translation from the text, original text. Are you asking the body, which is inert matter, to move, or the consciousness, which is all pervasive? So the question posed was one of locus standi. What is the standing from which, what is the authority, the legal authority from which you are asking me to move? The individual asserting that social hierarchy is but a fiction, but human dignity is essentially a question of fact. It posits that the substance of the judge and the accused, the sovereign and the subject are identical. So when he was confronted with this, Adi Shankara prostrated before him. And this act of prostration was not an act of piety, but a recognition of a superior legal argument. So when I say that it is a legal argument, it denotes a law which is superior to statutes or anything codified, but a law so fundamental that it goes to the core of one's existence. An acknowledgement that the right to equality and dignity are so inherent in the human condition that it must endure beyond man-made or social impositions. I want to just give you one more incident, and I take a cue from Nityashree's selection of a Bharadiyar song. He spoke about the Pudumai Pen, but the concept of a Pudumai Pen or a revolutionary woman can be fast forwarded back to the times of the Mahabharata. You know the incident when the stage is the gambling match that is going on, and Yudhishthira is rolling the dice. He rolls the dice, he loses, and he gambles away Draupadi. And when the messenger goes to call Draupadi, she does not come meekly. She asks a question saying, did you lose yourself first, or did you lose me first? And that is not a question just of asking out of interest. Did you give yourself first? Did my husband give himself up first, or did he give me first? That's not the manner in which she asked. It's a legal question. She says, if you give yourself up first, you have lost the capacity to give me away. So it's a capacity to contract. That's what she asks. And of course, those were different times. Today, under no circumstances can the husband gamble a wife. So I'm not for a moment interpolating that today. I'm only saying that the cultural history, ethos of the country has such incidents going way back, not just as a history or a story, but from where you can pick up instances of human rights, natural justice, due process, capacity to contract. These are all questions of law that were not lost on the ancient civilization. Now, there's one more. Due process. That is principle of natural justice, audi alteram part. I'll give you an incident from the Ramayana. See, when Hanuman wipes away the whole of Lanka, and when Ravana gets to hear of it, he inflicts on him the death penalty. But Vibhishana perseveres, and he says that he is a Duta or an envoy, or what we know today as a diplomat from a different country. And he is entitled to be treated fairly. He is entitled to due process. And therefore, Ravana, despite the despot that he was, he says, yes, Hanuman is entitled to due process. So, this was on Vibhishana's intervention. So, these are just some instances to show how culturally and fundamentally we are poised perfectly to be more equitable and fair in our daily lives. But are we? Unfortunately not. So now let's get real. While the philosophy and culture of the country proscribes an elevated and equitable approach to human rights and equitable living, if we were to be honest, we would agree that that's not the reality. Societal mores dictate ways and means of life today where inequity and unfairness are not just prevalent but rampant. To misquote Frost, we simply have miles to go before we can attain that level of elevated thought and being. I'll conclude by just saying that there's really no one-size-fits-all solution for how one can be more equitable, fair, or be adherent to human rights. It is a personal choice to be fair in thought, word, and deed. And we face that choice multitudes of times, several times a day, day in and day out. And that moment, and how we make that choice, determines our personal human rights index. That's when we realize that we become who we are through our choices. Ladies and gentlemen, human rights is not something abstract to be spoken of from a podium on a platform. It is not something for the future. It lies in our responses to the present. You choose who you become through the smallest and most mundane decisions. We simply need to look and re-engineer within. Domestically, we are armed both with the law and with the soul to interpret that law. It's now up to us to enforce it. Thank you very much.
Madam, you have touched and addressed the crux of the issues in human rights, our everyday essentials, with quotes from Ramayana and Mahabharata. We, the ABVS of Tamil Nadu, wish your Lordship to adorn the highest chair in the highest program. You have enjoyed your address. Thank you so much. Now our silent and tall, quiet, hard-working person, Secretary Sudan Raj, to propose vote of thanks.